welcome to the show. I am your host, Eric Murphy. It is May 15th? No, May 18th. Wait. Yeah, May 18th, 2025. Thank you so much for joining. This is Skeptic Generation, and we need to talk. As you may have seen in the intro, we have a special guest, a blast from the past, an old friend who I am happy to have on the show. Please, everybody, join me in welcoming Russell Glasser. Hey, Russell.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, how is it going, dude?
It's going good. I can't really pretend that I am not currently talking to you all the time, but I'm certainly not talking to all these people all the time.
I know, right? Yeah. Okay, fine. Peek behind the curtain. Russell is an actual friend of mine that we hang out.
Yeah.
But
I've been, I've we started like a Tuesday night factory building gaming session.
You, sir, have introduced me to some seriously bad addictions, is what you've done.
Right.
So
we got Factorio Space Age. We've got Satisfactory, and probably a few that you are going to get hooked on in the future.
We will never forgive you.
I am a software engineer with ADHD, which means I am the exact target audience for factory building games, and that has been my obsession lately.
Yep. And you have dragged me kicking and screaming into it. So I know that for a lot of people, you were on this show once, a couple of years back.
That's right. I remember yelling about the Supreme Court being about to ban abortion, and then guess what?
Good things, everything got better, right?
Yeah. Everything's fine now. We fixed it just by that rant.
Oh, yeah. Almost like you had an idea of what was. Yeah, it's so fucking. And then, but before that, last time you were on a show was 2018.
I did. Okay. If anybody doesn't know me, I used to host the Atheist Experience once a month, and the nonprofits most of the time, and that is ancient history. And
hey, that was a good time. Before I ever started doing content, I remember listening to the nonprofits. And my favorite section of the nonprofits was definitely shit internet apologists say.
Yeah. I remember that.
It was a really good time. I know for people who are kind of new to the movement or new to, the call-in shows, not everybody maybe knows who you are. So yeah, Russell.
I know. Russell? I very occasionally get recognized in public. Once or twice a year. And it's strange because it
is.
It was funny, but more understandable when I was doing shows regularly. But now that as far as the atheist show watching public is concerned, I dropped off the face of the earth. To the point where people speculate about if
did you die?
I turned theist or I actually saw my son drew my attention to a YouTube comment once where it was where did Russell go? And then somebody was like, "Oh, the atheist group got too woke, so he got mad and left."
Oh yeah, and no. Russell's definitely the Ben Shapiro crowd, right?
Yeah.
No. You sure? Have you learned any good lessons from Jordan Peterson, or are you here to share the good news of Jesus Christ?
Both of them. Okay, good news.
Both of them, yes.
He was just a guy. So it's okay to live however you want. I feel like your listeners probably know that there was various kinds of drama in the atheist group. I was tired of it. And I don't really do atheist content these days, but that doesn't mean I don't still have the same strong opinions.
Fair enough. Fair enough. You focused on real life. You.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm now uh I don't know. Usually I'm kind of coy when I come on a show about where I work, but I will just go ahead and say I'm well into my 10th year working as a software engineer at Blizzard. In fact, back there, you can see I got a sword at 5 years and a shield at 10 years.
That's
um,
pretty badass.
yeah.
That is really cool.
Uh, and then I'm not going to talk about Blizzard or anything because I'm not a spokesman or PR trained or anything.
Nope.
But I enjoy the work,
Yeah.
and it's not games directly, but it's various websites that are all very technically complicated. I'm a senior 2 engineer, and that's my life.
Well, you definitely wowed me. I remember when we started hanging out, you actually took me on a tour of your work. I got to go into the
Yeah,
offices, and that was badass.
yeah.
Yeah. So I actually have an idea of what I want to talk about. I want to put the phone number out there
Okay,
because we have a call screener, we've got open
all right.
lines, and we'd love to talk to people. So let me get the phone number out there first, and then I'll introduce our topic.
I'm
Uh,
going to warn listeners
oh, what's up?
before we get to calls. I
Yeah.
am out of practice. Uh,
It's
I still have plenty of practice, like talking on a camera over Zoom in work meetings, but that is not the same thing.
it's not,
So
but I got you, brother.
lower your expectations.
That's right. That's right. Oh, never mind. I'm not. Okay. Phone number is 412 SKEPGEN. That's 412 753 7436. Or you can go to tiny.cc slash SKEPGEN. That's tiny.cc slash SKEPGEN. Again, we have open lines and we've got Russell Glasser. Call in. There are not going to be many opportunities to catch Russell on a call in show unless I bribe him to come on again. Um,
You didn't bribe me, you
I,
asked, and I
I
said sure.
true. I'm just thinking to get you on again. But if it's that easy, then I can schedule you on a couple more times.
Uh, I,
You know,
I
you
don't
know, just saying.
know. Maybe.
Uh, so here's here's something that I don't know if it aged well, but when you left the ACA, you wrote a letter
Did
stating
I?
you did. You made a statement, and
Yeah,
in your
maybe a
statement,
post on Facebook. Was that it?
I think so.
I don't. I
I
mean,
can
I
pull up the
never
link.
like wrote a letter to somebody airing my grievances or anything.
Well, hold on a second. Let me pull this up. It's on Reddit. I've got it right here.
Hmm. Did I post it
And
or did somebody repost it?
you did. Um,
Oh, okay.
but you had a 10 points as to why you left, right? And a lot of them are, you know, some of them are personal, some of them are intrapersonal at the ACA. But there's one, point number 7. You said, oh boy, here it comes. Atheism, frankly, doesn't seem to be as critical a social issue as it used to be when
Okay.
compared to other social issues. I'll elaborate this a little. And then when you do elaborate, you say atheism is a less important issue than it used to be. To make it brief, we've kind of won. Yes, atheists are still the minority. Yes, theists still have a lot of power. And yes, they use that power to bully non-religious people with laws and social pressure.
But,
And that's all
yeah.
bad. But atheists aren't nearly as much of a marginalized and hated minority than they were when I was a kid. I want to talk to you about that. That it's been 7 years since you wrote that, and a lot has
Yeah.
changed.
Do you? Okay. So I feel like there are a lot of social problems these days.
Sure.
Uh, I remember how certain people, I mean, Sam Harris, Richard Dawkins, I forget which one said it, but they were like, religion poisons everything. It is
Mm-hmm.
the source. I mean, paraphrasing, that it's the source of all the problems is religious thinking. And I feel like religion is, I mean, it depends on how you bend the meaning of the word religion. But I
Okay.
would say, for example, Donald Trump, who is like, I've always said he is a black hole of attention.
Hmm.
When he is in power, everything becomes about him all the time. Uh, he is not a religious man. He may play to the fundamentalists, right? But when he holds up a Bible upside down and and people ask, "What's your favorite part of the Bible?" and he's like, all of it." This is not a person of sincere religious conviction. Am I wrong?
I so I don't think you're wrong about that, but I do think
Yeah.
you're wrong overall.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh yeah. No,
Well,
I'm challenging you. I'm
here we
not.
go. Let's
This is
have a
not.
fight.
All right. Let's do it. And if you want to join us,
All right.
make sure that you call in. You call in to 412 SkepGen 412-753-7436, or you can go to tiny.cc/SkepGen. That's tiny.cc/SKEPGEN. Russell, here's why you're wrong. All right. So
Okay.
here's my
Go.
here's my thought. I think that you're right. Right. I obviously you and I are not going to disagree that Donald Trump is a, a,
Black hole of
a
attention.
he is
Or
a shit trebuchet. I mean, he is
yes,
just
yes,
a war machine of filth, and
yes.
I think that what fuels it is Christian nationalism. The gas in the tank, the reason why this has moved forward, right? What we're upset about right now is Project 2025. Project 2025 is a
Okay.
Christian nationalist piece. I feel like people like Donald Trump wouldn't be where they are if they didn't get fueled by this very thing. This is the thing that is
So
driving it forward. So why isn't it the most important?
let's say you would say he has gotten to where he is by surfing on a wave of shit that is
That is flavored Christian
that is
nationalism.
yes, a sea of Christian nationalism. Uh, I can't fully disagree
Okay.
there. I mean, I certainly think um, the the fact that like Roe v. Wade was overturned, um, and anti-trans bigotry is like one of the biggest pet causes right now of the
Yeah,
right. Uh, a lot of that is religiously inspired.
it is. I mean,
Um,
and even when we think about like when the right for gay people to get married in the United States, right? That was,
yeah,
well, I believe that God gave us the institution of marriage to be between a
yeah.
man and a woman. Like so much of that is couched in religious doctrine.
So let me amend that.
Yeah,
And I certainly never meant to say that religious doctrine has gone away as a problem.
sure.
Only that in a pure popularity sense, it has decreased. Uh, in response, the religious right has stepped up their efforts to seize power everywhere, and they've been kind of successful in a lot of ways. But I guess what I was thinking at the time was more that among the general public,
Hmm.
atheism is not so much stigmatized as uh, um, as certainly when I was a kid, with an especially skewed perspective, growing up for a few years in Alabama. Um, the concept of atheism was alien to everybody, and it was bizarre.
Yeah.
Uh, and now I think that's not the case. And I would also say that even among the far right,
Hmm.
there are a lot of people like Donald Trump who pay some amount of lip service to to religious principles, but don't really care. And in fact, I feel like some prominent right wing figures I don't have a name off the top of my head, but they are open atheists, and that doesn't bother people.
Hmm. So
Or
I'll push back again.
okay,
Yeah. So whether one cares or not,
mm-hmm.
there's the intent and impact piece of it, right? So whether Trump was a devout Christian or not, like George W. Bush was a devout Christian,
Yes, I'm with you there.
and Trump is the one who got Roe v. Wade overturned.
That
So
is true.
the whether or not they are personally religious, in the same way that I don't care whether my neighbor is religious or not, the
Yeah.
impact there is one that like is so intense that and even when he ran, right, it was he ran with Pence the first time, right,
Mm-hmm.
it was to court that vote, and it wasn't just to pay lip service to it, right? You said paying lip service, but really they have been boots on the ground doing shit to achieve a Christian nationalist agenda that no other devout Christian in office has ever done before. So whether or not he personally believes it, he's definitely walking the walk.
Yeah. Um, so,
Yeah,
am I wrong? Suppose I try to meet you part way
sure.
and say, religion, fundamentalism is a still a very serious social problem. Uh, does religion poison everything, or to put it another way, is everything that is poisoned a result of religion? I would say that it's one third religious problems and then two-thirds possibly various other factors.
Sure.
We can negotiate over that number, but I
Agree.
definitely think like weird ass algorithms and propaganda and this attention seeking culture that's been caused by social media is a significant contributor to the problem, which is like orthogonal to religion, if
Well,
that makes sense.
it definitely has inspired a number of movements that have happened since you've been gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did you ever plug in and see the trad wife movement?
Yeah. But let me counter that.
Yeah,
How popular really is the trad wife movement? Because I think that one of the effects of the internet is to focus people who are obsessed with some particular bit of weird bullshit.
okay.
um, I would throw out a guess that like at least 80% of people think the whole trad wife concept, of Americans, that whole concept is dumb. I mean, I think
So
80% is underselling it. I think Tradwife is fringy, but it's also been pushed to a lot of national attention.
it has, and I think that it's also because it's gained so much attention. You know,
Yeah,
it's not just a Utah Mormon housewife kind of thing.
right.
They are the influencers who are pushing it for sure. But
Yeah.
um, I think that it has hit a level of mainstream appeal that it is now a kind of a viable, easily well recognized. Oh, this person's doing the trad wife thing. They like that, and I think that that was not the case 10 years ago.
Okay. Let me ask you this though:
Yeah.
if you had a public survey, and we're just two guys making shit up
Yeah.
right
Yep.
now,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
so I mean, but hypothesize with me a public survey where it asks, how strongly do you identify with atheism, and how strongly do you identify with trad wives? uh, I think atheism comes ahead. I think they're both a severe minority, but I think atheism clearly comes out on top.
I think it totally depends on the demographic. I think that if you were a girl age 15 to 35,
Random survey of the entire country. Let's just
sure.
do, not worry about crosstabs right now.
Okay. I think
Again,
I think
we're just making up an answer. I
for
don't have it.
sure. I well, so here's the thing that gets me. It's not
Hmm.
just a fundamentalist Christian thing. It's
Yeah.
also a tepid religious thing as well, right? That in the
All
same way
right.
that there are plenty of lapsed Catholics who say, "Oh, well, the best version of me would be one who went to church all of the time, right, and did all of that,"
Yeah.
right? I think that there are plenty of people who would say, "Oh, the best version of me would be a trad wife," or there are plenty of boomers who look down and go, "Oh, things have changed so much. Women wearing pants. If we just got back to this kind of trad wife thing, I can absolutely see that being a thing with older conservatives." And then the other really
Hmm.
crazy thing is it's not just religious, right? You definitely see a push towards wanting to see trad wives from the Andrew Tate, Ben Shapiro,
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that.
atheist.
There's a bunch of men who fantasize about trad wives.
Well,
I don't think there's as many women who want to be trad wives.
well, it depends on whether or not they want to get those kinds of men. Like that's the
Do they
thing.
though?
There are
I
enough.
mean,
There are
this is something
enough.
I do know,
Yeah.
that lots of surveys have come out which show that women are more reluctant to date men with right wing beliefs, like more and more over time,
Agreed. Yeah.
uh, and for damn good reasons, because you know,
Yeah. Not everybody wants to
right
be
wing
owned.
men hate women. I mean, I don't want to overgeneralize. Not hashtag not all right wing men,
Oh
but
God! All right, Russell, you managed to get on the air once in seven
okay,
years. I
okay,
think it's
I'm now
been
canceled.
20
Goodbye.
minutes. I think we've set a record. All right. Hey, everybody! Thank you for joining. No, I'm just kidding. I,
But like almost all.
yeah, it's so. I guess if I'm seeing it on in the fundamentalist groups, I'm seeing it in the
Yeah,
religious right, I'm seeing it in the general right wing, and I'm also seeing it in the libertarian intellectual dark web non-believer wing as its own justification in that, like I said, Ben Shapiro kind of Daily Wire like
yeah.
avenue. If I'm seeing it across those that broad of a spectrum, then I think that it is a bigger problem than we want to admit.
Um, yes and no. Here's what I mean. Holding on to the trad wife concept in particular. Uh, I'm a tech guy, so I see a lot of things through the lens of tech, especially because. Don't worry, I'm not going to make a Factorio analogy.
No, no,
See
no.
you
It's just
laughing.
funny that you said like I'm a big tech guy, and says the guy with the giant
Yeah.
sword and shield behind him. Like,
Uh,
yeah, you're a
yeah,
nerd.
I'm actually not as much of a fantasy nerd as a lot of tech guys would be. I just they gave me a sword and shield. I am a kind of a fantasy nerd, but anyway, beside the point. Um, I think about a lot of our social problems and sort of some of the way they stem from uh, uh, the lens of social media, which has largely overtaken, uh, traditional media like newspapers and TV and stuff. And there are very specific ways that they skew perceptions of what's important by bubbling to the top stuff that is controversial
Okay, yeah.
because from a business point of view, controversy gets people screaming at each other. And the time that they spend screaming at each other means that they are sitting there looking at their social media feed. And the longer they sit on their social media feed, the more advertisements that they look at.
Yeah.
And so ultimately, fringy topics that people have strong opinions about are things that are surfaced and amplified by social media. And so when we look at a thing like Tradwife, it's possible that only 5%, I'm going to go real crazy, actually give a shit about this concept, or would give a shit about the concept, let's say, if there wasn't social media. No, I'll go farther than that. Without a social media algorithm, people don't think about it at all. And uh, with social media algorithms, it's more in the public consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
but I think maybe we get a skewed perspective on how much people actually are interested in it, because that skew is partly how often do I see it in my feed. And the
Mm.
feed is not so much a result of genuine popularity as it is Facebook, its algorithm making a calculation about what can I show people to get the most advertising dollars, bottom line.
I mean, yes, and that's the reality now. So
Yeah.
whether or not that would be the case or wouldn't be the case without it, it's like saying, well, in a world without cell phones, things would be different. Okay, now we have cell phones,
Right.
and so now we have to live in this
Okay.
world. So okay, so
So because of the algorithm, it does have more visibility and probably more popularity. But I think the popularity, you might be overstating in your, or you might be jumping to more conclusions,
that's true, and
perhaps.
and I guess I am really close to it because a lot of the people
Right.
that I interact with are other YouTubers who are doing videos about
Yeah.
Paul and Morgan
You
and
do an
all of them.
atheist show
You
and I
know,
don't. So I'm not like thinking about and reading as much of this stuff as you do.
okay, then let me. I know that we have one caller who's getting call screened, but we would
Okay.
love plenty more people. Let me put the phone number out there one more time, and then with that, I do want to push you back on another thing. I'm just enjoying
All right.
like picking your brain. It's
No,
been
this is
years,
fun.
man.
I don't get to like come on and have somebody say you're wrong and then I have to defend myself.
Good.
Like occasionally that happens in work meetings, but I think we're all you know,
Well, and also when we're hanging out as friends, if one of us tells the other
yes.
person you're wrong, we're probably right. There have been
Right.
times when you've called me on my shit and I've called you on your shit and you've been, yeah, okay, fine.
Yes. Like for instance, you overbuild stuff in Factorio. But
Hey. Why? If you're gonna do it 1,000,000%. Let me get the phone number out there really quick.
Eric is about huge scale and I'm about efficiency. I
That's
think
right.
that's
I do
yes.
it correctly. Okay, so phone number 412 Skepgen is 412-753-7436. Or you can go to tiny.cc/skepgen. That's tiny.cc/SKEPGEN. Call screeners waiting on the line. Good, we get a couple of calls coming in. I absolutely love it, but let's get a couple more. Okay. So I hear you out on the tradwife piece, and I may be totally overblowing it. And,
All
it,
right.
and that may be the case. And if that is the case, am I totally overblowing how much the Christian nationalist right wing populist party has been sucking off billionaires like Elon Musk? Is that
No.
overblown
And
on my part?
it it is a huge problem.
Oh,
And you'll notice that in that post I only said we kind of won, not that we won.
okay. Um,
I guess maybe my thought is we won in the sense that we moved the window a significant amount, not that we fixed the problem.
I I I agree. What's driving me wild though is I feel like yes, the Overton window, that middle ground has moved
Yeah.
in a more atheist friendly place, but it's
Hmm.
moving back and I can hear it screaming. Like it's getting
Yeah.
dragged back. But what's interesting is we are seeing weird things happen, like really famous, people who are non-believers getting held up as the golden boy of the movement. Now I know that it feels like people like Elon Musk are kind of on the way out, but there
Hmm.
has been this big push with billionaires, even if they're atheists. Why do you think that is?
Uh, Sorry, could you
Yeah, no
repeat
worries,
that?
no worries. So
I'm not
so
sure I followed the whole thing.
yeah, so the right wing, the religious right,
Yes.
I can totally understand them supporting someone like Donald Trump, even if he holds the Bible upside down and never opened the damn book, because he's doing
Right.
things that are pushing their values, right? Um, but when I see them, massively supporting Doge and Elon Musk,
Yeah.
what is he doing that is attracting them? Is this a religious thing? Is this a Democrat
I
Republican thing? What do you think?
do. Okay. So, for one thing, I also would put Elon Musk in the category of people who don't really have sincere religious convictions, right?
Well, he's I
I
mean, he
mean,
said he
do you
doesn't believe.
disagree? And of course, I would still see that as a point in his favor, but there are so many points not in his favor that it doesn't come near to making up for everything else. Um, but I mean, Elon has weird beliefs about I've read some background stuff, and he's real serious about this save humanity by going to Mars, and maybe upload consciousness to AI
I
someday.
so I but that
And
feels like that feels like that is the appeal to progressive white guys, not to the Christian nationalist right. Like, what is it that
yeah,
makes
so
them
your
like him?
question is why? You know, I don't think Elon Musk was popular with the religious right until, or if he even is now, I don't know. But I mean, he didn't become a right wing darling until he gave a shitload of money to Donald Trump, and then Donald Trump rewarded him by, uh, you know, putting him in charge of this stupid imaginary government position where they just go around banging on doors and telling people you're fired when they don't have the authority to do that. Um, so I mean, this actually comes back to, like, I think what drives uh, Donald Trump is naked self-interest and desire for power. And then the question is still what makes Trump so popular to the right wing.
Well,
But I think that it's really easy to tell why Elon Musk managed to weasel his way into that circle.
okay, can I rephrase that back to you?
Okay.
So it sounds like you're saying that Elon Musk only hit popularity with that group because, and only because, he's riding on Donald Trump's
He
coattails.
got in good with the cult leader.
Okay. Okay. I got to think about that because I don't think you're necessarily wrong. I think that there
Uh-huh.
are, like, I think he wound his way in a
Yeah.
very interesting way because there is one thing that he did the entire time, and that is the whole woke mind virus thing.
Well,
Um,
and also gave a lot of money.
yeah.
But I think
Well,
actually, I mean, I
I
think he's sincere about the woke mind virus thing, but I also think
well, yeah.
Musk is
His daughter's
him.
trans, and he
Yeah,
believes that his child is dead, because he'd rather think that his child is dead than think that they're trans. And so I think that maybe ideologically was appealing to that party,
yeah.
that group. But yeah,
I
that's
think Musk himself is actually maybe an interesting case of being uh, infected by the social media brainworms in the sense that uh, when he like when he started complaining about trans people, he immediately got sort of love bombed by the kind of people who want people to be more mad about wokeness. And uh, in finding that sort of, saying that sort of thing gave him positive attention, or, well, positive and negative, but it got him attention, which is ad dollars. uh,
yeah. But
and that sent him perhaps spiraling into, oh, I'm going to do more of this.
fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Hey, you ready to take our first call?
I am.
Let's do this. Let's talk to.
Also, I think we're mostly on the same page with a lot of things. We just, disagree about the specific relative weight of all those things.
Agreed. And I think that being able to pick at and jump into the where we disagree is just it's so much fun.
It's a
It's so,
blast.
you're a
It's
fun
good to
person to
be here
disagree
with you,
with.
my friend.
I'm glad, brother. I'm glad. We got Austin joining us in Maryland. Austin, you're live on the show.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Hello,
Hey,
Austin.
doing well. What did you want to talk about?
So I want to talk about JD Vance because I think his fascinating worldview really is, and this is my slightly unsourced opinion. I think JD Vance is more the Project 2025 endgame, and I kind of think Trump is a means to an end for them.
Oh,
I think,
interesting.
and this is just my slightly unsourced opinion. I think for me, JD is kind of more what they want in terms of a future leader than Trump, because JD kind of has the cultural, actual belief system that they're looking for. And I guess what I wanted to do is kind of point to a couple of different pieces that came out last year.
Please do,
One
because
from New York Magazine.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've got to tell you, coming into this, right, the only thing that I've really gotten, and this is probably because this is just in my bubble, is that, you know, he is somebody who's absolutely willing to do whatever the Fuhrer says, and that he's, you know, kind of a, what's a good way of putting it? Spineless. So I'm definitely interested in hearing, like, what do you know? Because I don't have enough
I
info.
have a take on JD Vance too, but I'm going to let you go first.
Yeah, Austin, go for it.
I mean,
Yeah, sure. And
the
again,
caller,
this
yeah.
is just, sorry about that. I didn't mean to talk over anybody. This is just my sort of, based on like the research that I've done. So there was an article in New York Magazine, and there's also a Slate article. Both of them are from summer 2024. One's from September 2024, the New York Magazine one. And basically it's about the idea of J.D. Vance being a post-liberal Catholic and kind of what that means.
Post-liberal.
Many have suggested, sort
Catholicism
of
was
based
liberal?
on.
No, sorry, we're doing the peanut gallery thing as you're talking. Please continue.
Yeah, keep talking.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. I just don't want to interrupt anybody. I apologize.
No. We're being those old men from the Muppets at the moment.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I
not too
thought it was
bad.
terrible.
Oh, great. Yeah, all right. Go on.
No, you're good.
Sorry.
You're good. I just wanted to make sure that I
Waldorf and
wasn't being
Statler. Sorry.
rude or to anybody.
No, you're good. We're comfortable with you. Go ahead.
Oh, good. Perfect. So basically, the New York Magazine article kind of talks about, and I'm sorry, I have it like pulled up in front of me just so I'm able to speak
Yeah.
with some decent authority. So basically, it's about him as sort of a post-liberal Catholic, and the fact that he hangs out with a lot of people who essentially are what has been labeled as Catholic integralists. And what I've been able to gather based on the academic things that I've been able to read, because I am not a Catholic, I am not a former Catholic. But basically, Catholic integralism is like a belief system or idea that basically it proposes a return to sort of what the Vatican was in kind of the post-Roman period, where basically there's a close relationship with the church and the state, and it kind of advocates for, it says, the subordination of the state to Catholic moral principles.
So here's where I think that that's revisionist entirely. And I understand that is a revision that they would love to dial back to. But I don't think people realize that until Mussolini, the Pope refused to recognize Italy as a country. Did you know that?
I have heard about it before. I don't know anything specific about it.
Yeah, so the Pope refused to recognize Italy, and it's just a whole lot of posturing and political whatever, right? But they were like, no, we don't recognize that this is a place, and the reason why that even began was because Mussolini decided, okay, we're going to give you your own sovereign area, which is the Vatican. and we're going to make you a sovereign leader over it. And then we are also going to give you a fuck ton of money. And it wasn't until Mussolini did that that the Pope even recognized. And so if we're talking about like a post-Roman era, then are we talking about after the fall of Rome up until World War One, or are we recognizing World War One onward as a post-Roman? And if that's the case, it's weird to say that Rome fell in the 19 teens. You know what I mean? So like, it definitely feels extraordinarily revisionist. But go on.
No, you're okay. And I actually agree with you. I think post-Roman was kind of an ignorant thing on my part to say.
Oh, no, go for it.
Yeah.
I
interesting.
want to weigh in a little bit about J.D. Vance.
Yeah.
Because I think he actually a little bit dovetails with what we were saying earlier about other public figures, like rather than being driven by serious conviction, kind of going along with whatever gets them the most clicks over time. And I think I have a good data point, which is a quote that I just pulled up from J.D. Vance on Facebook in 2016 saying, I go back and forth between thinking Trump is a cynical asshole like Nixon, who wouldn't be that bad and might even prove useful, or that he's America's Hitler. J.D. Vance said that. Now, 7 years have elapsed. No, sorry, I did the math wrong. 9. Sorry, I'm getting high. 11. I can count. Anyway, years have passed, and Vance made kind of an adjustment to his public statements since then, where, I mean, he did do the spineless sucking up to Trump thing that worked so well to catapult him to the top of the vice president pick list. He also, there's a podcast that I listen to that I would like to recommend called If Books Could Kill, which is not a anti-religious podcast in particular, but a podcast that makes fun of the kind of self-help shit that you find in airports. So
Okay.
they read through books, and one of the ones they read through was Hillbilly Elegy by J.D. Vance.
Oh, the
And
one
they
where he fucked a couch.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he didn't say that, but
Actually, he did.
everybody knows the joke. No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
What?
From what I understand, that was taken out of future copies, but the first run of it actually did have that.
I hadn't heard that. I'm not going to say you're wrong. I just would like to see
Yeah.
a reliable source on that.
Okay.
But anyway,
Hillbilly Elegy.
yeah. So these guys on If Books Could Kill, I'm not getting paid to plug this, but I'm going to say it a couple more times. Came to the conclusion that this book was written in a way to make him appealing politically, and he didn't come across as a guy with serious religious convictions then. So I think that J.D. Vance is one of those guys who likes to position himself in a way that is politically expedient to getting him toward power. And again, if that happens to dovetail with sucking up to a lot of religious right people and also to Trump, then that's what he'll do.
So I want to kind of wrap this back in.
Okay, yeah.
So, Austin, you mentioned Catholic integralism, and
Mhm.
how does this like play in? Talk to me about how this all connects.
So I guess it's interesting to me in the idea that I almost feel like in many ways, if, let's assume that he is a true Catholic integralist, that's genuinely what he believes. It almost is this fascinating way of assuming, religious authority and political authority, but not in the way that Project 2025 almost purports. Because, like, I feel like much of the American right, at least to my understanding, most of that is very Protestant. And it's almost interesting to me in that if, obviously, we've had Catholic, people in the White House before, like that's not anything new. But I think what's interesting to me is I almost feel like if you talk about like, because JD is very, very much aligned with, the Peter Thiel kind of way of thinking. I don't want to say anything out of turn, but I believe that Peter Thiel actually financed most of his Senate campaign.
Oh.
I think Peter Thiel may also be an.
Oh. Well, I think Russell clicked the wrong button, and there.
I'm sorry. I was trying to hit refresh on the page I was looking at.
You done goofed, Russell.
I hit refresh on the stream instead.
All right. What's up? You're yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I understand. So I guess for me, it's interesting in that, like, I think that, and this is, again, just my assumption, and like I said, it's an assumption on my end. It's not anything that I would call very well sourced at the moment. It seems to me like JD Vance is more in line with the Project 2025 mindset, whereas Trump is kind of just a means to a cultural end. But I almost feel like hypothetically, assume way for some reason in the future the integralists win. The state is very much so aligned with the church as a hypothetical. Mm-hmm. It almost is interesting because I don't think that would go well. And so I guess what I wanted to talk to you guys about is hypothetically,
would it go well for the right wing or for everybody else?
I guess for the right wing, because I feel like, hypothetically, everybody is under, let's call it Catholic subjugation. I feel like there's a pushback on that from those that are not Catholic.
There's another reason I think that it's hard to imagine JD Vance successfully pulling off the trick of becoming the new Republican head, which is people don't like him. And I mean, that's different from the way people don't like Trump, because Trump has like hardcore fans and then hardcore haters. But, even for people like me who can't stand Trump, it's hard to deny that he has this weird sort of alchemy that makes him a uniquely good cult leader. And that's partly his public persona of being a rich, successful businessman and having spent like years and years on TV as a reality show host where he pretended to be a successful businessman. And lots of people have tried to recreate that, and they've flopped a lot. Like, remember when a lot of people said, oh no, Ron DeSantis is like Trump, but he's competent. And then he got in his first debate and he disappeared from public view like a month later because he sucked at it. And I think nobody is particularly into JD Vance, even the Trump fans.
I think I don't know. It's interesting. I feel like if we're addressing the Catholic integralism piece of it and not just the JD Vance piece, that it makes me think of Bill Donahue. I don't know how many people remember Bill Donahue, but Bill Donahue was the head of the Catholic League, who was extremely volatile, extremely angry, extremely violent in his rhetoric, and also kind of espoused the same views. And I wonder, now that you bring that up, Austin, if potentially someone like JD Vance would be the, I don't know, more socially palatable Bill Donahue. But I guess I'm going to need to think about that. It's definitely nerve-wracking to think that this bullshit would continue after Trump.
Yeah.
But
I mean, also, we could get into the whole, is Trump actually going to leave in 2028?
I
But
mean,
I
sure.
mean, who knows?
But here's the thing: is he's not going to live forever, and at some
Right.
point, the crown will need to move, and it definitely knocks at the hope that I have that things would stop being like this after Trump at some point. But it is a level
Let
of
me give you a
realism.
dark horse. Don't count out Barron yet.
Yeah, I so I'm gonna. Oh God.
Sorry. No.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I think that Barron has as much of a chance of getting elected as Biden's son does. But either way, Austin, honestly, that's good food for thought, and I'm gonna mull that over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
mean, I
certainly
guess
good conversation topic.
Yeah.
I guess for me, and I know you guys need to wrap it up to get on to other people, but I guess I guess for me it's interesting because I sort of view um, I sort of view Trumpism as kind of a social movement at this point rather than a it's definitely a cult of personality sort of movement. But I definitely think that I don't think that there is any future for the Republican Party that is not MAGA.
I think
And
you could well be right. At,
I sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, hope that you're wrong.
I think both those things at the same time.
Austin,
yeah.
thank you for calling in. I appreciate you.
hmm Yep. And
Good
then I
talking to you.
actually just looked it up. Just one last thing. I know I got to go. It looks like Bill Donahue is also a Heritage Foundation guy.
Yep. Yep.
That checks out.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
didn't know that before. I did know the name. I didn't know that about him before.
Oh, so Bill Donahue was the extraordinarily inflammatory representative of Catholicism on Fox News back in the day. He was the person that they pulled out every single time they needed a Catholic to overreact to something. And in a way, I thought that he was a joke, that he was misrepresenting things in a way that like Protestant Christians could go, oh yeah, that's the crazy Catholics. But then you talk about this and it gives me pause. But anyway, yeah, we are going to move on to the next caller, but thank you for calling in, Austin. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. Have a good one, Russell. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Take care. All right, first call down. How you feeling? How are you feeling, Russell?
Pretty good.
Good.
We haven't had like a serious
Well, so
oppositional guy.
well, let's bring in some opposition. We have somebody who
Oh
believes that
boy.
migrants should not be allowed to enter Canada or the United States. Let's talk to John in Canada. John, you're live on the show.
John, Eric, how are you, my old friend?
Hey, John. Okay, let me just get you dialed in. I thought you were someone else. Let me make sure that I got you dialed in here. So, what about migrants?
Okay. I just want to say that Trump is doing the right thing by keeping them out,
Okay.
and by deporting the ones that are already in here because they're here legally, and they shouldn't be here.
Wait, what? Okay, but what about the ones that are not here illegally? Like the ones who are on like visas or are currently under asylum laws. Do you also think they should be kicked out?
I'm talking about anyone who's here illegally should be kicked out. That's what I'm talking about.
And Russell's asking you what you think about the people on the fringes who are getting their paperwork, who are working on it, or who are legally. What do you think about them?
They should be kicked out too.
You think
anyone who's not here legally?
So the illegally thing is just a red herring. You think nobody who, well, I'm not even sure what the standard is because he's trying to end birthright citizenship too.
Yeah.
I was going to say nobody who wasn't born in the United States, but
so
nobody whose family wasn't born in the United States should be allowed here.
John's in Canada.
Legally or not.
John's in Canada.
Well,
so
yeah, but he did still
about
say even legal immigrants should be kicked out too.
Yeah. So, right? Are you saying legal immigrants should be kicked out as well?
No, I'm saying illegal.
Okay,
If you're here illegally,
but
out you go.
John, we just asked you about the legal ones, and you said they should be kicked out too.
Yeah.
No, I said illegal.
Okay, then let's ask. I will ask
No,
the
no.
question again. That way we can make sure we get clarity there. There are people in Canada and the United States who are currently working on getting their citizenship. They're going
Legal
through the
immigrants.
process of learning how to and going through the legal process of gaining their citizenship. Either they have a green card, they have a visa, or something like that that gives them temporary status to live within the country while they work that stuff out. Should those people be kicked out as well?
They can stay until they can stay, but if you're
Okay.
if someone, let's say, sneaks
So-
in,
so-
they haven't done any of the they haven't done the process, they have no intention of doing the process, and they're here, out you go.
Sure. So here's the thing that the reason why this is a big talking point right now is because Donald Trump here in the United States, I don't know if there's a similar thing going on in Canada, but here in the United States, there's been a push to deport people who are legally going about trying to get their citizenship. They're actually arresting people.
And not just deport them, like round them up and send them to a prison in El Salvador.
Right. So there are people who are going to court while they're at the courthouse trying to get their citizenship stuff done, right? They're doing it the right way. They're scheduling their court appearance. They're filling out the paperwork. They got a lawyer. They're doing everything right. And then they show up at the courthouse, and ICE, which is the department that handles this, right? Immigration and all of that. They show up and arrest them. They don't just say you need to leave. They arrest them and deport them to a prison. Do you think that is a thing that should be going on?
If Trump is doing it, yes, absolutely. If you're here
Okay.
illegally, out the door.
If it what?
But
No.
keep saying
If
if
they're
they're here
John,
illegally,
I
but
just-
were you not listening to what Eric was talking about?
Yeah, I just gave you an example. Were you not listening?
Yeah. I listened to every word you said.
Okay,
And I
so
agree.
people who are in the country, who
Your
are
cat has
working
an
on it
opinion.
legally, are being arrested and deported right now. They're actually getting
Yeah.
arrested at the courthouse while they're
Yeah.
trying to get everything done legally. Do you think that should be
Yeah.
happening?
Yes, that's
Why?
exactly what should be happening.
Why?
Because if you're in the country illegally, you have to be kicked out. You just don't walk in and
Dude.
set yourself up.
Dude,
Okay,
I
so
don't think you're engaging with the conversation
Yeah.
seriously.
John,
You are contradicting yourself all over the place.
Yeah.
Or you're pretending that he didn't say what he said. That's not cool.
Yeah, John, here's the thing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pass on this call, and I want you to listen back because we repeated this to you 3 times. We said legally. They're doing it the right way, and they're getting arrested and deported. And what you said is the people who should be here legally, right? Your answer is yes, they should be getting deported, even though we told you that they're doing it the right way. And you're responding as if I'm saying illegally, which is fucking frustrating, John. So I don't know how we're going to even move forward, right? Like we're not even at the part where we can start talking about nuance. We're just at the very basic beginning where we're seeing if we have the same common ground. But you're not even listening enough for us to get there. So unfortunately, I think Russell's not going to have the chance to interact with this on you because you need to stop and listen back
That's okay.
and move forward. So John, I hope to hear from you next time. Bye. He's dropped. No, that's fucking frustrating. What?
Yeah.
What? So we can talk about the
This
aspiration.
is-
We can talk about
I mean,
yeah.
if I can,
You have the floor.
I mean, if I can do some more meta commentary, though, this is one reason I haven't been super tempted to go back to hosting shows regularly is because the best conversations I used to have on the Atheist Experience would be someone with a sincere disagreement, but who was actually still listening to stuff I say And I think that because of the way that things have, that people have gotten clustered up with their little social media fringe groups, it's harder than it used to be to talk to people without everybody talking past each other. And that's frustrating.
Yeah, it is. And so part of the reason why I want to still do this
Yeah.
is I feel like other people who are doing this atheist call-in show kind of thing are doing exactly what John is doing. I think that people on our side are just waiting for their turn to yell at the other person and not
Yeah.
demonstrating what it means to listen. And
Arguably, we just did that, but
I,
I
I,
mean,
I don't. I don't. I think that we listened to what he said. We wanted to get more information, and so we brought up examples of, where there might be some nuance. And so the first question that you had, I rephrased it back to him, but I only repeated the question you asked. Was what does he think of this thing? And it just was not getting across.
right.
So I don't think that we were. I don't know. I don't feel that way, but
When I mean, in the early days of the internet, I remember reading a lot of atheist websites and coming across like a script that an evangelist could use to argue with an atheist. And as a computer science guy, that was hilarious to me because this sort of choose your own adventure style conversation
you're talking
can
about
only
belief map.
last what?
Belief map, I think, is what it was called.
Is that, I mean, there might have been more than one, I'm not sure.
Fair.
But like that sort of choose your own adventure script can only last a very short time before the number of possible directions the conversation could go gets too big to fit unless you're writing like a 50,000 page script. So there were at least a couple of times where people called in and they had this very stilted way of talking that made me realize immediately that they were just reading something. And I loved having read the scripts and knowing exactly what wasn't covered by it.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, talking to John just reminded me, like you said, we tried 3 times to get him to acknowledge something, but it wasn't in the mental script he called with.
Yeah. I think you're right. There are sometimes John has called in and engaged, but it
Mhm.
sounds like he had a very specific thing that he wanted to get through, and it didn't have room for interacting. So I think you
Right.
hit the nail on the head. Yeah. All right, let's move on. We have one who will agree with us more and one who will agree with us less. How's your blood pressure?
Okay. Let's go with Les.
All right. KBUK, how do we pronounce your name?
Was that
Kabuk?
Kabuk?
KBUK in Kansas.
This is me right here.
Hey, all right.
Hello.
Hold on just a second, KBUK. I have the volume way up from our last caller, so you just blasted my ears. Not your fault. I just need to turn it down a little bit. Okay, so first off, how do we pronounce your name?
K-Buck.
K-Buck.
Do you go by that in real life, or is it a handle?
It's just a dumb thing I thought up.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, I'm not criticizing. I use handles.
And then when we talk to you,
K-Buck.
yeah, do you like to be referred to as like he or she?
Wait,
like,
that's not the call letters of a radio station, is it?
Oh, I bet you.
You know, you think it would be, but it's not.
Okay.
You know what? Yeah. Anyway, you wanted to talk about Ukraine.
Yeah, I hear so many different things about Ukraine, and I'm not sure what people think about it. If you guys could each give like 2 or 3 lines idea on it, or 5 lines or whatever, would be good.
Yeah, I'll go ahead.
Sure.
But I mean, I'm not an authority on this. This is my understanding of the situation. That the United States had a treaty with Ukraine for a long time because Ukraine was very clearly targeted by Russia for takeover when they had already like Vladimir Putin. Sorry, this is longer than 3 sentences.
No,
but
go for it.
But you
It's
know,
okay.
there was the USSR was like a united group of Eastern countries, and then it collapsed in the 80s, and then Gorbachev was kind of interested in sort of westernizing it and making it more democratic, and then Putin showed up and was like, we need to get back to Russia glory days of owning everything. So he invaded Crimea. It was clear for years that he was going to invade Ukraine. United States considered that a strategic interest in the region, and Democrats and Republicans, like a great majority of them, were for a treaty to defend Ukraine. There were early warnings that during the Biden years that Russia was about to invade
This is a lot to go
Ukraine.
against, right now.
Okay.
It's a lot.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that we still have an obligation to defend the region. That's my TLDR.
That's okay.
Yeah, for me, I'll repeat what Russell said, probably a little more. Try to cut it down a little bit more. We know that Ukraine, that area, used to be part of the USSR. That when the USSR fell, Ukraine in 1991 became its own country, and it is a people who are proud to be Ukrainians. Russia, under Putin, wants that area back. And so there has been an invasion into the country of, Russia wanting to take that land. Why do they want that land? Because it's full of good stuff. There's a lot of minerals and there's a lot of arable land. It's talked about it like it's the breadbasket, of that area. But, right, you have that history. So that's why they want it. And there's a whole argument, because it used to be part of Russia that, it should be again. And Ukrainians don't want that. Ultimately, now we're looking at it, and it's being fought for a whole bunch of reasons. Europe really wants this fight because Ukraine is the only thing standing between Russia and them.
I'm glad to see that you said you were going to be briefer than me, but then you couldn't pull it off either.
True. You're right. You're right. So Europe wants us wants to continue to support Ukraine because Ukraine is that buffer. The United States wants to support Ukraine because name your fucking reason. There are tons of them. Ultimately,
okay, these are kind of generic reasons that we get from our propaganda, right?
Yeah. So what are you looking for?
Wait, what we said is generic?
It is. It's totally generic. I don't have a lot of.
It is. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but what do you want? We're two assholes on the internet. What are you looking for?
Hey, I'm a third asshole on the internet.
Okay.
3 assholes on the internet. Let's do this, KBUK. Yeah.
It's okay. Hey, first thing I want to say is I've been watching your show forever, and I really like what you do.
Thank you. Sincerely appreciate that.
I mean, I watched it a bunch from way back in the day.
All right. Well, thank you for hanging in there, and thank you for still being here.
The next thing I want to say is I know people call in and they try to put another person into some kind of weird logic pretzel or something, and zero of what I have to say will ever be that.
Appreciate it, but you're welcome to either way. It makes for good viewing, if anything, and I don't mind.
Okay.
I don't mind looking like an idiot. I do it plenty. But that said, I guess it sounds like you were looking for some nuance to be injected into the conversation, and I'm wondering what kind of nuance you're wondering about.
Yeah. First thing is, what do I know about Ukraine? I didn't know anything. When the first thing started, I was like, hey, Putin's the devil and all this kind of stuff. And so I bought into that. Okay.
Okay.
And then you start seeing more and more, and there's people that you watch and history that you learn. And
can you give an example?
There's a thing that happened. Pardon me?
I mean, like what people?
every news channel,
Every
everything.
news channel?
Well, I mean,
okay.
they all.
Sorry, I'm
No,
not
no, it's
trying to
okay.
derail you. Keep going.
They all have their own spin, and to like, I in
Okay,
on
I could get more specific.
yeah, because I mean, my thought there is, are you talking about the numerous times that the United States has been absolutely fucking evil and used proxy wars to get into, fights over, oil and things like that, that proxy wars have absolutely wrecked the Middle East and, at one point absolutely wrecked, Eastern Asian countries. And so, is that the kind of context you're wondering about? Are we doing something more evil than we think we're doing? Like, is that what you mean?
Well, that plus, I didn't really know. Okay, so I see the first guy comes out and he says, "What we have to do is blame Putin. He's the worst person, and it's all his fault." So I was like, okay. And the second thing that I saw on the news was Putin's the worst person, and it's all his fault. And the third thing I saw was the same. Okay, I've lived in sales, and I know what a sales pitch is, and I know what reality is. And when you're getting the same thing across all the formats, you're getting a sales pitch. You're not getting a description of reality. You're getting a sales pitch.
I'm sorry to take a sidetrack, but what do you think about evolution? Because no, sorry. Let me just not make that open-ended. A point that I wanted to make is that while it's true that often people will repeat the same things in the same words for propaganda purposes, it's also like the end result of the scientific method in some cases, right? Like if you're trying to investigate what's true, eventually everybody converges on the idea that like germs cause disease and not invisible humors or something. Like
I don't know. You're going off
there are
tangent
agreements that people come
I believe
to,
in evolution.
and sometimes everybody says
Can we
the
get over
same
that?
thing because it's true, right?
Evolution is true, yes.
Okay, so I'm just saying, you can't conclude the truth or fact, the truth or falsehood of a claim based on how many people are saying it, one way or the other.
That would be ad populum.
Yeah, your claim. Well, this is sort of the opposite of ad populum. It sounds like you're saying that because most people agree on an analysis.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that's
okay.
what made me want to investigate it to a greater degree.
Right.
Okay.
I thought that's what Russell was saying. Yeah, it sounds like we're in generally the same place, right? You're seeing something that seems like everyone's kind of ubiquitous on it, and you're like, okay, if we're getting the same line everywhere, what's motivating?
I saw a big sales pitch, and I said, hey, I'm going to look into this.
Yeah. So what have you found?
Okay, in 2014, there was a thing called the Maidan Revolution. And it's one of the color revolutions that's prompted by the CIA and has been for however many decades.
Okay.
And so when we overthrew the government of Ukraine in 2014, well, that changed the circumstances of the way we want to look at things.
Sure.
Okay.
Does
that
yes.
mean that they should be taken over by Russia?
No, they were taken over by the U.S.
Yes, so should they now be taken over by Russia in retaliation? I mean,
there's
sorry,
no evidence
yes,
at
I'm not
all
saying I
that
agree.
Russia is trying to take over Ukraine.
Russia's in Ukraine right now with tanks killing people. What do you mean?
Okay, Ukraine's a country, and it's made of all these oblasts. We'll call them states or whatever, because people don't know what an oblast is. Sure. And they were murdering all these people in the 4 eastern oblasts, bombing them and sending cannon fire into there and doing all these terrible things. Yeah. The death toll got up to like 14,000. And then finally, Russia tried many times to get a peace agreement to it. And finally, they just moved in and said, hey, we're going to protect these 4 eastern counties from getting murdered.
That's what they said. Now let's
That's what happened. That's what happened.
let's run with that then. Let's just go there for a second.
Okay.
Here in so wait, you're in Kansas, right? You're in the United States, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So I think you'd probably agree that there are plenty of terrorist organizations here in the United States. Terrorist organizations
I mean,
who
come on.
advocate for violence against and have committed violence, church bombings, bombing abortion clinics, mass shootings, that we can absolutely point to groups like the KKK, and,
Sure.
and militant groups, right? Oh my gosh, in Kansas, I'm sure that like there are people in that have absolutely created militant actual militias right here in the United States. So if another country were to see that there was a good number of church bombings going on in the South by the KKK, right? If they were to then go into that state and say we are going to stop it, that would be an invasion of the United States by a foreign country. Is that correct?
I mean, I don't know what you're trying to go towards.
Well, I'm just trying to see the facts of it, right? So if there was a number of church bombings in the United States, maybe in, I don't know, New Mexico, fuck it, and Mexico decided, okay, we're going to stop this, and they went into New Mexico and said we're going to control this territory and stop these church bombings, that would be an invasion of the United States by Mexico, correct?
Sure.
Okay.
Let
So
me.
what would it be on the United States to do if Mexico were to invade and take over a state?
Well, I mean, I don't think that's germane to anything that we're saying.
It is incredibly germane.
Let me try to make it germane.
Hold on.
By asking.
I want to finish this really quick.
Okay.
Right?
Sorry.
No, it's okay. We're talking about the invasion of a sovereign nation, right? And whether or not that nation has the ability or the right to defend its borders. So, what should Russia have done? Well, if Russia was worried about violence going on in these territories, then Russia should have gone to the UN, which it was a member of and is a member of, I still believe, right? And said, hey, here are war crimes going on in this country. We need to issue sanctions and go from there.
Well,
right?
as I understand it, Russia did however many actions, and it's all everywhere that you can read about it, trying to get the peace to this.
Can I ask?
Let's take a different angle on this and say what's
real
actually
quick, I just want to
happening
ask a
is
very short
the
question.
United States is.
Excuse me. Hey,
Can
I just want to ask this real short question, and then I promise I'll let you talk. Do we or don't we agree that Ukraine is currently under invasion by Russia? Because that seems like a pretty basic question.
Sure.
Okay. Just, all right.
Okay.
I just wanted to, good. Thanks. Go on.
I mean, I may sound a little stupid, but I'm really not.
I didn't say you're stupid, and I don't think it.
So
No, it's
us,
okay.
yeah, us.
It's all right because we've been so propagandized by things that it took me a little bit to get to this point of seeing things how were, and so it's okay. I'm with you guys.
I
would have been on your side a few years back. I would have been on your guys' side.
Well,
okay.
And who knows how history is going to flush this out? What I do know is that yes, the United States has done some really, really fucked up things, and also a sovereign nation has been invaded.
I did promise K-Buck that I'd let it talk after the short question.
Oh my God, you're right. I see. This is what happens when we have three
Yeah.
people. K-Buck, I'm sorry. You go ahead.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Okay. You can see NATO marching across Europe, right? And so each country that becomes NATO or whatever becomes a threat to Russia. And so now they've got Ukraine right on their border, and that's unacceptable to them. I mean,
I could imagine NATO marching
if
across
China
Europe.
or
I don't
Russia
currently
overthrew
see
the
it.
government of Mexico and lined up the border with a bunch of missile silos, we would flip out.
So hold on just a second.
But we can But we can take over Ukraine and line up the border with a bunch of missile silos and just say it's tough for you guys.
Well, so first off, you're saying that NATO countries are somehow a threat to Russia, of which Russia is a member, right?
Russia's not a member of NATO.
No? Or UN. I was saying UN. I was thinking UN. You're right. Not NATO. I misspoke.
It's okay.
We're,
All right.
So
yeah,
This is all a mess because
it is, and
you got to
also,
kind of work through it.
Yeah, I think that there's a war. There are a lot of innocent people who are dying, and that it should be going through diplomatic means. Not.
They tried. Russia tried. Flat out. They tried a bunch. Look it up. They tried a bunch, and we ignored them.
I don't think so.
I'll check it out.
I do think so.
I'm not. I'm not against researching. So let me check it out and become more knowledgeable.
One more thing
before I have a more nuanced conversation. Because K-Buck, let me tell you something. I don't think I've got enough information to engage really well with you.
That's okay, because I didn't either till I looked it up. Then I changed my mind. I reserve the right to change my mind with
specific article
new
or
information.
something that you would like us to read.
I would say go on the internet and listen to Judge Nap, Napataliano, whatever. He's an old Fox guy, and he's got his own channel on YouTube, but he has all these different guests that are on there. There's Colonel McGregor and a bunch of different guys, Daniel Davis, and there's half a dozen on there. John Mearsheimer. Mearsheimer's huge. Mearsheimer's one of he's 10 million % qualified. You just can't doubt it. He's like
you
Chomsky
think that
on
we
these
should
things.
listen to this guy because he is not spreading propaganda, the former Fox News guy?
No. Judge Knapp is just asking questions.
Sure.
He's the least guy I want to endorse. I want to endorse John Mearsheimer and Chris Hedges and those guys.
Look,
I am truly not trying to get you to listen to something dumb.
No, I appreciate it, and also K-Book, I do think that ultimately it would take a lot for me to change my mind on the idea that invading a sovereign nation is the right thing to do, no matter who it is. And so if we're talking about the United States' involvement in overthrowing a country, fucking evil. And so I don't think I'm being hypocritical to say that Russia trying to invade a sovereign nation is fucking evil as well. I think it's fucking evil. So I'm kind of consistent across the board on that, right? Like
if China flipped Mexico and set up a bunch of missile bases across the border, we'd go in. We'd go right into Mexico in 1 second.
You know what? If that were to happen, it's extra frustrating because I'm Mexican.
I have Mexican blood relatives.
Yeah, so
I'm hip with it.
Yeah, so it's extra frustrating, and also looking at our current administration, if they had a reason, hell, they're trying to find a reason to go to war with Canada or Greenland. So I don't think I have a leg to stand on to say that we wouldn't do that. And also that doesn't make it okay. It would be fucking evil of us, and it is still fucking evil of Russia to do. So the fact that we would do it does not make it okay. It just makes us fucking as evil.
Well, I'm totally not nutty. I just think that Russia saw that as an existential threat to their existence to have NATO 5 minutes away from Moscow, and they just can't have it.
Well, if that is how they are viewing it, I understand, and also invading a sovereign nation is not okay. Just straight up.
Hey, I can understand that.
Yeah. So
I get that.
So if that is the case, then whatever their reasoning is, I'm still going to say that's not fucking okay. The only times that I think that should be changed, I think I'm going to need to look into it. I think I'm going to need to look
Okay,
into
just
it.
one more thing.
Yeah, one more thing, and then we
These are
got other
ancient
calls.
By the way, I pulled up a Chris Hedges Substack article just now about Ukraine, and I promise I'll read it. I'm not promising I'll be back on the show anytime soon. But I mean, you know, I just want to let you know I'm listening to what you're saying, and we'll read that for my own education.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and it enlightened me. I'll say that it changed my outlook on the whole thing. It did.
Yeah.
Well, him and a bunch of those other guys.
And
they really did.
And I also want to point out that, weaponizing a border is something that we see in lots of places. You know, not every country gets along with their neighbors. But that doesn't mean that invading is the right answer. So whether or not there are nukes, right? People are saying there are no nukes. It doesn't mean that couldn't be a weaponized border there. I'm not saying, like, regardless.
Okay, this will sound a little weird, but because I'm not a missile expert, but we put up these missile tubes, right? And they were for these non-nuke missiles, and so we had a line of them up there. But they're the same exact missile tubes that can carry nukes.
Yeah, that's what caused the United States
Russia,
to go into Afghanistan, is that exact statement. And I thought it was fucking evil of the United States to do then. So if
I come from the Afghanistan time. That was just terrible.
Yeah,
that was the most terrible thing we ever did.
And so
that in Iraq,
right,
was just awful.
Okay, so if that's the case, then you should be saying that it's the most terrible thing that Russia's doing, and it's just awful. Because
they've got to protect themselves. They have to.
And that's what the United States said about going into Afghanistan.
That is what the United States said.
Afghanistan is on the other side of the planet. They're not on our border.
So at that point now it's
now we're just haggling.
Yeah. That is exactly the word I was going to say.
Evil you're allowed to
look,
get
but that said,
okay, you guys look it up.
Yeah.
There's guys in D.C. talking about partitioning Russia and busting it up. They've already got it. They talk about it openly, busting up Russia into 5 different states. They joke about it being a gas station that's a fake country, and they're going to make a Russia and a Siberia and a Kamchatka and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And we're trying to partition them right now, and that's what's happening in real life.
So the United States has said that as well about the Middle East, and it has.
And we did it
right. That's fucking vile, and also that does not make what's going on with Russia and the Ukraine in any way. It is also fucking vile. So,
you got to understand how they don't want to get murdered.
I think that is a pretense to.
Neither do the Ukrainians.
Yeah, you're talking about nationalist expansion and its justifications, and so at that point now I'm starting to talk out of my ass, so I don't feel super comfortable. Okay, but thank you for calling in. I wish.
Yeah, I appreciated the conversation.
Yeah.
Hey, just a couple things. I really appreciate this, and I really like your guys' show, and I really enjoy this conversation. So, do some reading. Maybe I'll do some thinking. It's okay. It's all good.
Sure. And yeah, we will continue the conversation. K-Buck, thank you for calling in.
Hey, I got a whole series of conversations I like to have. If you're open to that.
As long as it's a genuine dialogue, then I'm happy to. But I've got 3 more callers, and I want to make sure I get.
This has been right. This has been a genuine dialogue.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
If it's ever not, the first guy.
Hang up on me.
All right. That said, I am going to hang up on you. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye. Eric, I don't think you have told me how long this show normally is, so I don't know.
We have another half hour.
Okay.
And then we usually go to the after show on Discord. I'm picking up V from the airport after this. V has been at a conference and is currently in the air and is needing me to pick him up. So I'm not going to be able to do an after show today. But that's what we normally do. I do want to make sure that we get through everybody else. John, I know you want to continue the conversation, but the conversation
Oh,
demands more time.
John, the deport legal immigrants
Yeah.
guy.
So
Yeah.
let's
Okay.
let yeah
Sorry, John.
let's pick that
Didn't
up
work.
another time when we've got more time, because we only have half an hour left. Let's move on and talk to Dwayne in Canada. We got a lot of Canadians. Dwayne, how's it going?
Hey.
Not too bad. How you doing? How you guys doing?
Doing well, Dwayne. While I get you dialed into the lower third, why don't you talk to us? What's going on?
Oh well, about a week and a half ago, I used to be a member of the Discord community, right?
Okay.
And I used to throw in videos and ads, or not ads, throw in videos and articles and stuff like that. Stuff I found interesting, right?
Okay.
And one of them was about a guy called Robert O. Becker, right?
Okay.
And basically, the article is about like how the dogma of academia kind of shut him out.
Okay.
And I got in most of a lot of the articles that week tended to be on that kind of theme. Unfortunately, people in not everybody, but some people in your community really didn't like that too much. And it kind of brought up the whole idea of belief, right? Like, whatever the belief is, if somebody challenges that belief, we tend to react.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And not always in a nice way. But what I find the difference between like a mature person and an immature one is the mature person, after having that reaction, will still step back and go, yeah, maybe I just jumped the gun a little bit, or at least very, very well accept. Okay, I got the belief, and just kind of move on from there. I tried talking in the chat up until I think it was about 20 minutes ago, and maybe it's my perception. It probably is, but I got the same kind of vibe, mostly just from two people. So one of them happens to be a moderator. So
well,
Boy, there's nothing I like more than coming on a new show and being asked to mediate a squabble on a chat room.
Oh no! Don't get me wrong. This show is awesome. You guys have to keep doing this, right? Like seriously, like I got friends and other people I talk to. They reference you guys all the time, like Eric and V. Oh, by the way, I'm probably like a couple years out of date for this, or I might be completely off. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, V.
Right?
Are you talking about when V proposed a couple years back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was awesome, man.
Me too.
Like
me too. Our friend Drew, who's who's genetically modified skeptic. V told him ahead of time, and so Drew was holding a phone and recording secretly. And and so I've got a recording.
That's either a sign of like really good friendship, relationship, or just being really mean to have to ask somebody to hold on to that for you.
No, it was it was incredibly sweet. It was. Thank you. So are you Beanogees?
I am.
Hey, see, look at that. I don't forget things. I forget everything.
That's okay. So do I.
So
it happens.
Yeah. So what you've presented is really, really vague, and it doesn't give me anywhere to kind of go.
All right.
And so if there's a specific thing that you want to talk about, then I'd be happy to engage with it directly.
All right.
But when it comes to but when it comes to moderating, that kind of stuff, I don't know. I can't do that live on the air. But
no.
Okay.
That was just to be an example.
Okay.
Like the whole belief, like the belief.
Got
itself.
it. Got it.
Like the existence of having a belief in whatever, whether it's like a god or a political system or a person, right?
Yeah. Well,
good.
Yeah, no, it's okay. We can absolutely point out times where that has happened in the scientific community, right?
Oh yeah.
We can talk about how humors were believed to exist. We can talk about Russell. What was that element that causes things to catch on fire that they were really on about? Do you remember?
It sounds like you think I should know what you mean, but I can't remember.
Phlogiston.
Oh,
Phlogiston.
it sounds a little familiar, but I'm not.
Yeah. So like charcoal would be dephlogenated wood. Right. It has had the phlogiston removed through the act of catching on fire and being used up.
Yeah.
And phlogiston was what they thought was the thing that makes things burn. And so once you get rid of the phlogiston, it's no longer. We now know that that's not the case. Phlogiston does not exist. But there was an establishment that really, really pushed for it and really, really fought against having that change for a very long time. There was in the mathematics community a really, really big push against non-Newtonian
like dynamics.
Or not non-Newtonian. Sorry, non-Euclidean, non-Euclidean algebra. And so like we can look at examples like that, and I do definitely understand that we don't want to shut ourselves out completely of new ideas. That said, not every time something gets brought up is it a new idea. Like
no.
There are some things that are solved, right? I think that there are often people who do the just asking questions thing, where they bring up something that is we're past already, and want to relitigate it. You know, should gay people be able to get married? Should trans people exist in our society with us? You know, stuff like that, right? You know, oh hey, we live in the United States and we have equality, but also have you heard about the bell curve? Right? Like
there's a quote from Carl Sagan that I've always loved, which is the fact that some geniuses were laughed at does not imply that all who are laughed at are geniuses. They laughed at Columbus, they laughed at Fulton, they laughed at the Wright brothers, but they also laughed at Bozo the Clown.
That's so well said.
You know, speaking as a Ojibwe person, the whole Columbus thing, definitely not laughing, but for a different reason.
Right, right. So that said, I don't know. Do you feel like you brought a kind of thing
as
to
far
the
as that
table?
goes, like they just, and I can't overly get mad at people because I would act the same way. Like,
okay.
You know, like somebody challenges my beliefs, like I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I might need to look in after the show. Maybe while I'm like in the cell phone lot, you know, waiting to pick up V from the airport, I can check out some details. But without more,
make sure you stay away from the gift store though, because they just suck you in and like you go in there, you're never getting out.
No. Without more information though, I just don't have anything to go on.
On it, like as far as like the beef I have with, or the issue I had with the couple members of the community, doesn't change the basic idea about the beliefs and our reaction to them and how those beliefs actually can play into like everything that's happening right now.
Yes, although although at this point we're so broad that I don't know if we're going to be able to make any progress.
No, that's all right.
But that's
I just good.
No, it's okay, Dwayne. I appreciate you calling in. I appreciate you being a part of the community. And yeah, you take care, okay?
You're good. I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right.
I mean, where do we go, right? Like,
well, that filled 10 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know. We had another caller.
Who's next?
So we had Bree who wanted to call in and pick up the trad wife conversation.
Oh, I wanted to have that conversation.
Yeah, right. Bree, if you're still watching and you want to call in, I know it's late, but we'll still talk to you. And then other people we've been kind of filtering out. So we've got a little bit of time. And if Bree wants to call in, we'd be happy to take that call. If not, then I think now's a good time for me to talk about like do a little bit of housekeeping. Hey, everybody,
Okay.
if you like the show, hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified when we're going to be going live or putting out new clips in the future. All of that helps. If you want to support the show, you are watching me produce live while also hosting. This is not done by a big organization. This is not done by an organization. This is just done, as a labor of love. I am the host. I bring in people who I care about. I've got some really awesome friends like Russell here. And I've got some amazing volunteers who are working to help make sure this happens. If you want to support us, consider going to patreon.com/skepticgeneration. That's patreon.com/skepticgeneration. Your support actually does go directly into the show. And it is fully appreciated. I also want to thank our volunteers. You guys rock. There's
I've got
no
one of these too.
Yay! Oh,
This is carbonite, by the way.
Carbonite.
Yep.
Oh, look at that!
It's like I want attention too.
All right, let's grab Bree. Bree's back.
Same topic.
Hey,
Hi.
you were waiting so patiently on the line for so long. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I honestly I thought you had other callers, and I was like, oh, okay, they're not going to get to me, and I was just like, all right.
Well, honestly, I think everyone had that idea, and so they all kind of dropped out.
Okay.
Oh no, 20 minutes of dead air.
Gotcha.
But that's okay. So Bree,
Yeah.
you wanted to talk about the Quiverful movement? What's up? Talk to us.
Oh yeah.
So, okay, yeah, so, I grew up in Fundy Baptist circles, and I came across the Quiverfuls probably actually when I was in college, and it was weird to me then.
I remember.
Okay.
I remember I had a friend in atheist circles who was part of the Quiverful movement and talked about getting out. Vicky,
Yeah.
somebody, Garrison. Anyway, not
I don't know.
important.
Yeah. There's a lot of, and of course there was that documentary recently on the guy that the Duggar family was like really like followed his teachings.
Okay.
Shit, I can't remember his name because I wasn't familiar with like the actual guy or his organization, but like the actual teachings that came out of it. Like the stupid umbrella drawing and stuff with like God the Father and then the Mother down below. You have the tiered umbrella.
Oh yeah. That
I saw that drawing all the time, and I heard those
Okay.
kinds of teachings all the time. They got into our churches without us even realizing where it came from. It's weird, but so I mean, like, it's kind of the
okay.
same.
I just had to Google Duggar umbrella, and now I see the picture, and I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's a picture of
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm trying to pull it up, and the cat is walking across my keyboard and actively preventing that. I'm worried at some point the
she's trying to
stream.
protect you.
Yeah, she keeps protecting me. The stream's going to go down, and anyway. While I pull that up, so walk us through what's going on.
So my point is, like, the Tradwife thing is basically just another iteration of this. It's more of these teachings that have kind of pervaded conservative Christianity, about how the Father is like you got God, and then you got your pastor, and then and this is like your tiers of authority. And then you've got like the husband.
I'm seeing an umbrella labeled Christ, and then husband below it, and then wife, and then children.
Yeah.
And they're all protecting each other from the rain, which makes no sense because if the Christ umbrella works, then all the other umbrellas are just redundant, right?
Yeah. But yeah, the idea is, you have different tiers of authority and stuff. So as you go down the authority track, which is also why they hate trans people, because they throw this entire idea of men just automatically having authority into disarray, but because they were born men.
I'm going to put the image up.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I'm just putting up the image.
Yep, that's the same one.
It's between us, but just for people who want to follow along visually.
Yeah,
okay, so
and it's like, why do you need the husband umbrella? Is the Christ umbrella leaky?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
Also, if you live in the Midwest, you're gonna have to like hold that sideways so you actually stay dry.
Oh yeah.
so you know,
But
honestly, this was something that I saw outside of Tradwives, outside of the Quiverful movement. This is something that
yeah,
was pretty. Yeah.
mhm. it
So
it underlies this entire concept of, and it's just Tradwives is the new iteration of people trying to reinvent this hierarchy and this idea of men having control over the family, absolute control, and you can't question him.
Yeah.
Trying to
Yeah.
make it popular.
Yeah.
It's like everybody on each layer of the umbrella should not have any argument or try to overrule the umbrella above
Yeah,
it. So
you
that
have to
means the
be
wife
super
gets no
respectful, and
say.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep,
Oh, look at
yeah,
that.
and questioning them is disrespecting them and stuff like that.
Right.
Um, but
No,
I agree, John. There should be a spot for dogs on there. Sorry,
no, it's okay.
in the comments.
I just want to see how we're gonna tie this into Tradwives and Quiverful.
But yeah, so I was basically saying this is the new popular thing that they're trying to push to kind of project this traditional view or whatever, supposedly traditional.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like as someone who came from like a church where these sort of ideas was very pervasive and heavily pushed on us, everyone likes to give it lip service, but if you actually talk to people one on one, they're like, yeah, no, that's shit. I can't, no, I'm not doing that.
Okay.
You know, and it's like, so people pretend that they like it and they support it because that's the performance expected of them. But they're not actually looking for that kind of life for themselves.
I mean, also to talk about Tradwives again for a minute, like the whole Tradwife thing being promoted by influencers is very amusing because they're doing a performance of something that looks like an old-timey wife, but in fact, often the influencers are the lead moneymaker in
Yeah,
in the household.
it's just a
And
1950s aesthetic.
so they are making bank
Mhm.
and sort of supporting the family, which is kind of the opposite of what they're saying they're trying to do.
Yeah, they don't actually live the Tradwife experience, not the one that they're
Yeah.
claiming they live.
I'm just.
I mean, that's.
I'm just representing what you're saying with images. So I don't want to go so far as to like I don't want to discount them because the idea that they don't actually believe it sounds too similar to like a precept being like, well, atheists they actually know a God exists. They're just doing this.
Yeah,
like,
which is obnoxious.
Oh
yeah.
no, I'm not. That's not. Sorry, that's not what I was trying to imply.
Okay.
I was basically trying to say that like you may see a lot of rhetoric supporting it online, but a lot of that is just kind of an echo chamber type thing. It's not really people saying that they support it doesn't mean that they're actually living it themselves. And especially when it comes to social media posts and everything.
I mean, yes, and though
it is a tiny minority.
Well, but Bree, so you said you came from this too, right? This kind of religious background. Like that was always a thing though, right? Like I think was it Ruth? That Ruth, you know, was an exemplar, or that
It's the Bible Ruth.
Yeah, biblical Ruth, or
Yeah.
what was the? It was a really short book in the Bible, and I think it was like. It was a book, but it was 1 through 24, 25. That was just all expectations that a woman should live up to. Let me see if the live chat can help me. Either way, I think that the church has.
Someone in chat says Esther, maybe.
No.
Oh, someone said Amos just now.
It's okay. I feel like the church has a really, really long history of setting a standard that there's no way that women could possibly fit, and
Well,
saying,
yeah.
okay, so you can't possibly be this ideal woman, so you have failed as a woman, but that is okay because you are failed as a human and you need God. And I
Well, yeah. I
definitely,
mean, that's the underlying message of Christianity in general. So.
right. And so I definitely see trad wives as a new expansion of that. I totally agree. But also,
Mm-hmm.
if you were to ask a woman at church when I was growing up, hey, are you, this ideal woman? No. Okay, so you don't really believe it? Well, of course I believe it. I'm just not able to live up to it. And so I think that that is more the case, that you have a group of people who genuinely believe that trad wife should be the wife way that you should be, but maybe it is a personal moral failing that they have not been able to achieve that. And
I think.
I worry about that,
Mhm.
because I think that that is probably the most likely case, and how damaging that is to the psyche of everybody who believes it. But like, I do think that that is kind of the prevalent situation.
Yeah, I suppose it might depend specifically on the church you were in, because a lot of times, because like for example, I didn't grow up in a church where the pastor was inserted into the hierarchy. The idea that the pastor should have any kind of authority over individual members of the church was just foreign to us. But
Oh, really?
whereas, especially in a lot of these Bill Gothard churches, which thank you, CG Dancer, for reminding me of his name, they very much do insert the pastor into the hierarchy. Like, you have to obey the pastor. And it's like, so I mean, there are definitely variations in how the hierarchies are set up. But like, so when I was a kid, it was very much, there are different, everyone has different roles in the church. Every family has a different role in the church and stuff like that, and in God's kingdom. And this is the ideal that everyone should strive for, but that doesn't work for everyone. So, if you have to have more of an egalitarian family, then that's just kind of how God set things up for you, or if you have, like, you have to work because, you need more money or whatever. That's just how things have to be. It was very much more of a, you have an idealized version that you should strive for, but it's perfectly okay if you can't reach that, was kind of how I was raised.
And that sounds like it perfectly lines up with the trad wife movement. Yeah. So I don't know. I definitely want to frame it and continue to frame it as something that has a serious deleterious effect on the people that believe it. And
there are people that do actually want to try it, kind of like there were people that did the Quiverful movement. I mean, that was definitely something that people did, and it was awful for them.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that it's also complicated by the fact that, there are people who genuinely do enjoy it too. So we can't say that nobody enjoys it, but we can't just say that that needs to be the case for everybody. There are some people who are very, very subby, who want to be, treated that way, and that's totally understood.
Are you saying being a trad wife is a kink?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I think that for a lot of people that works for, I think there are a lot of people that works for, that if they were communicative,
what makes you feel good.
Right. If they were more communicative, I think that they would recognize it as a kink. But that doesn't mean that it should be that way for everybody, because that doesn't mean everybody's into it. And yeah, that's how we need to. Russell, that is the correct word for it. Yeah, it's a kink. Quit pushing your fucking kink. Bree?
Also, there's definitely, especially with trad wives, there's a 1950s aesthetic to it, and I think that might be part of the reason why a lot of people get into it and really like it. Is they just like that aesthetic.
Yeah, there's I definitely know exactly. Yeah, I was putting up pictures that. Yeah, for sure.
It's funny. A lot of these traditions or supposed traditions that people are into are actually just attempts to mimic a previous time, which was itself trying to mimic another time. So like when you're pretending, like there was a big resurgence of that, of like enthusiasm for the 50s in the 80s. And then, the 50s was just trying to push this fake ideal of what households are supposed to be like from an earlier time.
That was very much trying to get back to normal post-war was a lot of the 1950s.
And now, of course, a lot of people are nostalgic for a fake version of the 80s, which is nostalgic for a fake version of the 50s.
Yeah.
Love it.
So a lot of it does involve nostalgia.
It's just nostalgia inception, I guess.
Yeah. It makes me feel weird. It makes me feel very weird. I can go far afield, but I know that we've got to wrap up. Bree, thank you so much, and thank you for waiting for so long.
Yeah, no problem.
Take care of yourself.
Yep, you too.
Thanks, Bree. Nice to hear from you. And Eric, thanks for inviting me on. I've had fun.
Was it that bad?
No.
So are you willing to come back at some point?
At some point.
Okay. I've
got to play a little hard to get.
Well, even if you didn't play hard to get, I'd probably only be able to bring you on, once every 4 months. So that
actually seems like a pretty good schedule to me. Very chill.
So if you played hard to get, you'd be talking down from once every 4 months. So I don't know. I don't know if you have to do that, but that said,
I'll offer you once a year.
Deal. That said, let's see if you watch the show. Do you know how we end the show, Russell? My friend who cares about me, who definitely watches the show.
I'm going to expose myself as a fake fan.
You ass.
I have no idea how you end the show.
Well, before we do, what we do is we read the super chats because I want to make sure that I do that.
Okay.
We got quite a few super chats.
Super chats?
Yeah. So people who want to make sure that their comment
gets read. The ones who
read,
got a lot of votes or something?
No. So if someone really wants to make sure that their comment gets read, they can donate a couple bucks along with their comment.
They're paying you to read their stuff.
It shows up right at the top, and there are people who wanted to have what they wanted their statement read out while you were here. So John Klein sent $10. Thank you, John. John says, "Love you, Eric, but I'm a big Russell G fan." Thank you. Thanks for being here today, Russell. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, Atlas Dye sent $10 and says, "My partner said to tell you that Dyson Sphere Project has a multiplayer mod."
Dyson Sphere Project rules. We gotta look into that later.
Oh no. V's gonna kill you. You know that, right?
Yes.
V's gonna Atlas Dye sent $10 again and says, "It's so good to see Russell again. Yay." My Unfinished Journey sent $2.22 and says, "Hail Nero, Eric, and Last Minute Russell." Thank you, Last Minute Russell. And thank you, My Unfinished Journey. Ian Shanky sent £1.99 and just says thanks. Thank you, Ian. And Joshua sent $5. Thank you, Joshua, and says, "Here's a return on your cat tax." I'm glad people enjoy that our cats join the show. Okay, so
it does increase my deposit.
So here's how we end the show. The tagline for the show is "We need to talk." Which, by the way, when V and I were starting the show, we just tweeted out, "We need to talk." Just made everyone anxious for like 2 weeks. It was great. But we finish out by saying we're glad we had
Sounds like you're breaking up with each other.
Well, we were breaking up with the ACA. Yeah. We end every show by saying we're glad we had this talk. And so what I'll do is I'll say, "I'm Eric Murphy." You say, "I'm Russell Glasser."
What was it? Temporary Russell?
Sure.
Yes, I'm Russell Glasser.
And then I say, "This is Skeptic Generation." And you say, "And we're glad we had this talk." You think you can do that with me?
Yes.
All right, everybody. I'm Eric Murphy.
And I'm Russell Glasser.
This is Skeptic Generation.
We're glad we had this talk.
Perfect.